Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to do something a little different. We are going to decode a timeless blueprint for achieving excellence. We're going to connect some really ancient wisdom with the very latest in neuroscience to figure out how you can optimize your brain for peak performance. So let me start with a question for you. What if the ultimate life hack, the real key to operating at your absolute best, isn't some brand new app or some complicated biohack, but a set of principles that are actually over 1,400 years old?
To really get our heads around this, we're going to use a special lens I call the triple Q framework. It's a super simple way to break things down. First, the narrative. What actually happened? Second, the neuroscience. Why did it work? What was going on in the brain? And third, the application. How can we use that same insight today?
All right, so here's our game plan. We're going to start with the source code itself. Then, we'll see how it was put into action by 4 incredible pillars of leadership. After that, we'll look at some specialists who just totally mastered it in their own fields. And finally, we're going to put it all together into a recipe for your success.
Okay, let's dive right in, starting with the foundation, the source code as embodied by Prophet Muhammad, PBUH. Now, this wasn't just about a list of rules, it was a whole lifestyle, and it was a lifestyle that was fundamentally designed to optimize the human brain for things like focus, emotional regulation, and deep social connection.
So, check this out. Here's a simple 3-step algorithm for managing anger. I mean, it sounds almost too basic, doesn't it? But what's going on here is a physical process with a profound neurological effect, one that modern science is really only now beginning to fully appreciate. And this is where things get really fascinating. This is where that ancient wisdom smacks right into modern neuroscience. See, when you get angry, you're experiencing what's called an amygdala hijack. Your emotional brain literally takes over from your logical brain. The Prophet's advice? That's what we'd now call a somatic reset. This simple physical act of changing your posture sends a direct signal through your vagus nerve, telling your entire nervous system to just calm down. It's like a physical off switch for that emotional hijack, kicking in your rest and digest system. So you might be wondering, how did this source code actually play out in the real world? Well, we can see it in the 4 pillars of leadership. The first Caliphs, or successors, who led the community. Each one of them applied this code using their own unique strengths to tackle some very different, very big challenges. What's so incredible is that these 4 leaders represent distinct archetypes that are unbelievably relevant today. You have Abu Bakr, the absolute master of crisis leadership. Then Umar, the ultimate systems thinker, think agile management. Uthman exemplified quiet leadership and what we'd now call impact investing. And Ali was a master of metacognition, or deep work. Let's just zoom in on a couple of these. Just imagine the scene for a second. The community is in total shock, reeling from the collective trauma of the Prophet's death. And in that moment of chaos, Abu Bakr steps up. With this one powerful statement, he performs what psychologists call cognitive reappraisal. He's not denying the pain. He is fundamentally reframing the situation. He shifted the entire community's brain from a fear response to a state of logic and reason. He stabilized a whole society by giving them a new, more powerful way to see their reality. And then you have Umar. Honestly, you'd swear he was a tech CEO from Silicon Valley just 1,400 years early. He didn't just rule, he built systems. He created the D1, which was basically the world's first government big data project, all to manage welfare. And he was constantly getting feedback from the public and iterating on policies. That is the exact definition of the agile method. Build, measure, learn, and do it all over again. Okay, so we've seen the core leaders. But the code didn't stop there. It was also adapted by these incredible specialists who just completely changed the game in their own fields, especially in military strategy and out-of-the-box problem solving. Let's talk about strategy under pressure. I mean real pressure. At the critical Battle of Yarmouk, the Muslim army led by Khalid ibn al-Walid was facing a Roman force that was 4 to 5 times bigger. This wasn't just a tough fight. On paper, this was a guaranteed loss. But Khalid didn't win with more soldiers. He won with speed, specifically neurological speed. He absolutely mastered what modern strategists call the OODA loop: observe, orient, decide, and act. The person who can cycle through that process faster than their opponent basically controls the entire battlefield. It's this cognitive speed that allowed him to make legendary moves, like marching his army through an impassable desert, all because his focus was completely on the mission, not his own ego. And it wasn't just about military tactics. It was also about pure, out-of-the-box innovation. During one siege, the early Muslims were completely stuck. They were used to fighting in open fields. But one of the Prophet's companions, Salman al-Farsi, was from Persia. He introduced a totally new idea: digging a defensive trench. This is a perfect example of what we call divergent thinking, breaking out of your mental box by applying a solution from one field, engineering, to a totally different problem in warfare. So, okay, we've walked through history, we've looked at leadership, strategy, neuroscience. What does all of this mean for you, right here, right now? How do we take this ancient code and actually integrate it into our lives today? Well, it really boils down to building and maintaining 3 engines of excellence. First up is your biological engine. Learn to regulate your own nervous system, just like that anger algorithm taught us. Second is your intellectual engine. Practice that high-speed, agile decision-making of Khalid and the systems thinking of Umar. And third, your social engine. Build that trust and psychological safety to create a real, lasting impact, just like Abu Bakr did in a moment of total crisis. Every principle we've talked about today feeds one of these core engines. So you see, this ancient blueprint for excellence, for emotional regulation, visionary leadership, and agile thinking, it's not just some artifact in a history book. It is a living, breathing code that's available to every single one of us. So the real question isn't whether this code works. The question is, what part are you going to start with today?